RotoGrinders, Dean here. Started 2+ hours nonstop NBA DFS conversation. Big boy slate. That was we're doing it live. We're doing it live here on a Monday. I'm not sure who that was playing us in. Pretty sure it wasn't Sting. I wouldn't think he would license his music here for RotoGrinders, but it's myself and Tim, the connoisseur of all things such as cheese, wine, and thankfully basketball for our cause. Tim, how are things in your world? Happy New Year. I haven't officially said. Do I have to say it to everybody the first time I talk?
You do. I have to say it to you and to Devin. I've already said it to Steven, said it to Rob. So I'm just saying you have to say it to everybody.
Can I just tweet it out and I just assume everybody read it?
No,
it's not gonna,
no. If you're actually on a show with somebody, you actually have to say it.
Oh, and what's the cutoff? There's actually an old a curb episode. You were Curb Your Enthusiasm with Larry David.
It's one of my favorite shows.
Okay, I think there's a bit where the Happy New Year cutoff. He gets upset at people saying Happy New Year after a certain date. I think it's like a week. Like after the 7th, you can't say it anymore. Which I like.
I'll tell you one thing, Dean. January 2nd is not the cutoff, so you still have to say it.
I do agree with that, but are you? Larry is generally right. Like generally, a lot of times he doesn't do a great job of getting his point across. But I think Larry's generally right, which is I don't know if people agree with that. I'm an outlier when it comes to that. Are you generally on his side, or you think he's kind of a madman?
I'd say it's 50-50. I don't think I would say he's right more than he's wrong, but he is right about some stuff, and the show is just beyond hilarious. It's definitely in my top 5. Definitely top 5 show.
That's like comedy, sitcoms, or just show in general?
Show in general. All time. Yeah, definitely top 5.
It's all. Yeah, I haven't made a power rankings or a list of any sort, but yeah, it's a blast. Do you have a favorite episode by chance?
The Black Swan is up there.
Ah, there you go. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because I used to be a huge golfer, so that one really hit home with me, and I really couldn't stop laughing the entire episode.
Well, did you hurt your back or something? Why'd you stop playing golf?
I don't know, just like time, really, family. It just used to be one of those things I did every day, and then all of a sudden you can't do it every day anymore, and it's just I'm not as good as I used to be, and then I get frustrated, and that was that. And then of course I can't play DFS as much if I'm on the golf course, Dean. So
they have tee times at 7:00 in the morning, which is outrageous. But that people wake up they get out of bed.
I used to be one of those people, Dean. I used to get up. I used to do that.
You're getting out of bed at 6:00 in the morning for 7:00. You could be sleeping.
I could.
I don't know. I guess I never really took to golf. It's not. There's a video out there of me trying to drive, and it's not very impressive on the interweb somewhere. But yeah, just whatever reason. I guess my baseball mentality, I didn't transfer to golf. It's a different kind of swing, I suppose. And I didn't. Happy Gilmore played ice hockey, right? I didn't do a lot of slap shots either. So.
Right.
What's up, chat? Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, do all the things. I've been alerted by producer Devin. He's feeling generous in the new year. And how rude of me. And now I'm really realizing I did not say Happy New Year to Devin. So Devin, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Derek and Big Hurt and Stan and Hoosiers. Everybody hanging out in there in chat as well. Yes, the Carpool Lane episode is phenomenal, Mr. Gerg.
Yeah.
There you go. Now we're going to get the chat fired up on their favorite Curb episodes. And half the chat probably loves it. Half the chat's doesn't care about Curb Your Enthusiasm, or they're more Seinfeld people, or it's not them at all. And anyway, they want no Larry David in their life. All right, chit chat is over. Not a lot of time for nonsense. We'll probably work it in throughout, I suppose. But big boy slate, right, Tim?
We do need some nonsense because we're really waiting on news, Dean. So feel free to filibuster all you want because we're desperate for some news here, and it's like we really need the Philly news, right? That's the big one. Because right now we don't have a ton of value, but if that opens up, then the slate becomes much easier.
Well, it does and it doesn't. Well, we'll talk about it, but we do have nonsense in the form of the Heat injury report, in the form of the Clippers are playing tonight. Probably not the most appealing. It's nonsense. The Clippers and the Heat. They also play the last game of the night for what it's worth, which is never fun. Weird times today. 4 games at 7:00, right? I think it's 4. I was counting them earlier. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 7:00 games right out the gate. That's 40% of the slate. Boom, it's done. It's over. 7:30, San Antonio, Brooklyn. Then we have several games at 8 o'clock, and we have 2. And then we have that break, a 2-hour break into the last 2 games of the night, the dual-prong hammer that is the Detroit Pistons, the Portland Trailblazers, and then the Hawks. It's 3. There's another 10:30 game. That's what it is. And today we got Kawhi getting a midday downgrade illness. I mean, what do we do with that? I don't know. I have no idea if he's going to play or if he's not going to play. Paul George is a fine play either way. He'll become a better play, obviously. Miami, their shenanigans is not up to 11 necessarily, but, it's there. With like guys like Duncan Robinson and Vincent and Martin, they don't necessarily matter so much, maybe collectively to some degree. If they're all out, if they're all in, who cares? And like you said, Embiid is in one of those games at 7 o'clock. Do you have I think we have an F10. We do have an F10 actually.
We do. Yes, we do.
And I think we're hedging a little bit because do we know who starts? Is it going to be Montrezl Harrell or is it going to be Paul Reed? Like, who would draw the start? Do you have a lean in that?
See, my lean is that Montrez starts, but I think that for DFS purposes, we should play Paul Reed. We had this scenario a couple months ago, and everybody jumped on Montrez, and he just got destroyed on the first unit and wasn't used at all. And then Paul Reed came in with the second unit and just destroyed and just crushed it. So my lean is that Embiid sits and that Montrez starts, and that we shouldn't play Montrez, and that we should be looking at Paul Reed.
Wait, you're saying the if then, or you're saying you would bet if you're forced to bet, you'd bet right now that you think Embiid's not going to play?
Correct. I would bet that Embiid is not going to play, and I would bet that Montrez starts. But I think that we should be playing Paul Reed in DFS.
He had an incredible last month, Embiid, which is kind of sort of overshadowed by Luka, who's just been outstanding, just out of his mind. Like, he's breaking rates and he's just breaking the world. And of course, Luka tonight has an awesome matchup too. We'll talk about him soon enough. And man, is there a bigger sphincter clincher as far as a fade than fading Luka? You're well positioned. I just need Luka not to go nuts. Oh, okay. Good luck. Go to bed. Yeah. Close the laptop. Turn on Netflix. It's not going to end well. Just out of his mind.
Hot take, Dean. I'll be playing Luka in single entry tonight. No matter, is that a bold move, Dean?
Will he be 13 or 14K soon? Where is it going to stop? Because
he should be 13,000 every single slate minimum. That should just be his base price until he maybe slows down a little bit. But if you're getting him under 13K, he's still a tremendous value, I think.
All right, I meant to mention, I kind of got off tracks, but we're giving away a week free of RG Premium, maybe 2 weeks free. I believe Devin's giving away 2 weeks free, one to one person, one to another person, 2 individual winners. How do you go about getting that? You look at the screen, you say, hey, that lineup HQ looks pretty sweet. It's got ownership, it's got projections. Oh, I can use an optimizer too. Oh, I can use all the other sports as well with the lineup HQ. It's a lot of fun. You have yourself a good time. You want to test it out. You don't necessarily want to fully purchase RG Premium. Understandable. Sure, you spent some money on some nonsense gifts that nobody's even going to like, but whatever. That's fine. That was your choice. You can get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. We're going to be starting that giveaway in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Jump into the live stream chat channel. There are some premium channels. This, of course, would not be a premium channel. That would be weird if it was, because then none of this would make any sense. Go into the live stream chat channel. I believe that's going to be starting at 5:30 Eastern, give or take. Devin's going to fire it up. We'll let you guys know in the chat. Devin is the highlighted yellow RotoGrinders. It's very clear. Yeah, you guys can see him in the chat there. Say hello, everybody, Devin. And Devin, again, if I didn't say it, I'll say it again. Happy New Year. I hope the New Year went fabulous for you.
New Year to you and Tim.
Do you want to say it to everybody else, or is that all?
No. No, I'm kidding. Happy New Year to everybody that's listening in.
All right. Tim, we can kind of sort of figure it out as we go along. And, we're going to be playing the if-then a good bit because it's not just Embiid that's questionable. FVV, Freddie VanVleet is questionable as well. I guess Jamal Murray's good to go. I assume he's off the injury report now, so he should be fine. Evan Mobley questionable. Alperen Şengün is questionable. The bigs for Houston are the worst. Nurkic had the fish, so he wasn't feeling well. He's questionable. That was several days ago, so my lean is he would play. A lot of stuff, basically. A lot of stuff yet to be determined. And by the way, you did mention it. Let's kind of take a peek. Who is the biggest quote-unquote value right now? It's Karis LeVert, because we're assuming Derek Rowan is doubtful. We're assuming he's going to be out.
Garland's not projections, so we're projecting LeVert as the guy, and he's definitely going to be like the super chalk, and you're 100% playing him in cash games, and he's going to be like 50% on in tournaments. So there's always like a merit to fade somebody that's that high owns, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. He is coming in with pretty strong negative leverage in our slate IQ right now, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I care. I think because he's going to be optimal. He's going to be the optimal about 45% of the time, which is huge for a $4,800 player. So even if he's going to be 57% owned, like I don't know. It's kind of up to you. Whoever. It's up to you guys what you want to do. But I think I'm still going to play him.
Just worth noting, you mentioned LeVert at 4.8 on DK. That's a really, really awesome price. It's tough to fade. On FanDuel, he's kind of appropriately priced. Like it's a good play. It's a good play at 6.2.
Right.
But it's not the best value. It's a fine value. It's like top 5, top 6.
Right.
Kyle Anderson, slow-mo, by the way, number 1 on FanDuel, which that's
right. And that's the thing about FanDuel is like slow-mo is supposedly like a better value, but I'd still take my chances with LeVert. Like, yeah, I prefer LeVert.
It's some weird names, man. Kyle Anderson's the best value right now on FanDuel right now. That may change. We'll see. Hopefully, nobody's at 6x. He's 5.6x. Kevon Looney, like when do you ever play Kevon Looney? Pretty much never, right?
I know.
But he's kind of a value play today. Kuminga's out amongst other guys in Golden State. Bryant is the third value on FanDuel for what it's worth. That matchup against Charlotte, which it's beautiful. It's at 7:00 as well. We'll be talking about that one in a second, but. Should we table New Orleans, Philadelphia for a minute? As far, kind of put it in the back end of all the 5:00 games. I'm sorry. 7:00?
Yeah, I ran like a court IQ on Philly, and I'll just talk about that real quick, and then we can move on. Like with Embiid off the court, Harden has a 34.4% usage rate in 268 minutes, and that's an increase of about 0.23 fantasy points per minute, and an increase in usage of almost 8%. So Harden, like, it's just tonight's just screaming to me in terms of like optimals. It's gonna be like a Harden Luka night, and then you try to get your value with LeVert, and then like Paul Reed, something like that. I just wanted to read that court IQ, but then we can move on to a different game because Harden just becomes such a smash play.
He's also, last I checked, I was looking at like last week. Nobody's averaged more minutes per games played than James Harden this season. He wasn't officially in the minutes because like he didn't qualify. I think he missed too many games, but he's played like 20 or 21 now. He did also he's coming off a rest, so he rested last time out, so he should be well rested, good to go. Certainly interesting usage bump, and it's funny because I thought opening the slate today, I thought, oh man, LeBron and LaMelo, people are going to be running those two at each other. I think that's going to happen as well.
Yeah.
I mean, that game looks awesome. And we'll get to that one too. And of course, you can't play all these guys. You can't play Luka, LeBron, LaMelo, as well as Harden if Embiid sits. But just a lot of appealing big spends. Durant has got an awesome matchup. We'll talk again. The Spurs' worst defense, Denver, Detroit. They're 1 and 2 as far as the worst defenses in the league. It just feels like however long the Spurs hang around, Durant's going to do whatever he wants to do. Essentially, yeah, sure, Kyrie's out there as well. So kind of a 1 and 1A. And then you got Luka versus Houston. I think the third worst defense in the league. It's a lot of good stuff. And then Lillard is just gonna be lost. And like, who's gonna stop Lillard on Detroit? The big spends are so good today. You got to choose wisely.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good way to look at it from a macro perspective. Like the big spends are like they're so good and so strong. Like that Lakers Hornets game, a 242.5 total. And a 1-point spread, and it's not really popping that hard in like optimals. Like it's just not. It doesn't project that well. Like Ball on FanDuel, Rozier on FanDuel, they're a little bit too cheap, so they're coming in with ownership. But it's not. I don't think it's going to get too out of hand in terms of ownership. Like that game is going to be an absolute like defense optional, like sprint fest, like. Both teams are so bad defensively.
They're very fast and they're bad defensively, which
yeah,
is
I mean, it's
beautiful combination.
Yeah, it's the absolute perfect combination. And, I guess LeBron's coming in with more ownership than I thought. I guess he's going to be, but only 2% on FanDuel. Man, if
Did
you
you know
could
he's
find
38 years old, LeBron James?
38?
Yeah, he just turned 38. Just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tweeted about it, and according to my mentions, all you need is just like $1 million to put in your body, and you can look just like LeBron. That's it. You don't need to wake up at 6 in the morning and grind your way into working your body into incredible shape and yada yada yada. You don't need determination. You don't need skill. Of course, good genetics help them too. Obviously, it's hard to get 6'8" or whatever he is, 6'6", 6'7". But yeah, it's just so weird how people just think like, oh yeah, the only reason why he looks like that, and of course he's doing shenanigans, as the other allegations. We shall move on. I'll get off my soapbox. You did want to mention, let's talk about that Philadelphia New Orleans game. We have Larry Nance is out with a neck, and there's just interesting thoughts as far as like if Embiid is in, if he's not in, maybe if life becomes a little bit easier for Valanciunas.
That was the one thing I want. Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to bring up. Like, if Embiid is out, this is a really, really good spot for Valanciunas. And I think his ownership might creep up a little bit, but right now we have him at 1%. So I'd be happy to come in at like 4 or 5% if I was multi-entering. Like, you don't have to go insane, but this is like there's a path for him to play over 30 minutes today, which for him is gigantic. And the 76ers will really, really lack any kind of rim protection. Zion is okay, but he's really, really priced up. And, he's going to get the PJ Tucker matchup, which obviously he can beat that matchup, but it's still not the best. It's still not the best matchup. And Zion's peripherals have not been great. Like, even though he keeps dropping 30-plus points or whatever, like, he's not getting there with, like, rebounds and other peripherals.
Doesn't make threes, not a guaranteed double-double. He was handling the ball more when McCollum was out. He was actually getting some assists.
Right.
That's kind of pulling back as well. I love Zion too. Yeah. Go ahead. What's your point?
Yeah, no, I question Zion's ceiling really at this on both FanDuel and DK. So regardless of Embiid's status, I'm out on Zion.
He's kind of like Lillard, like a big version of Lillard, although Lillard can make threes at least. But that's sort of the way I see both those guys. Like they're both great, but I feel like they both be just like a little bit cheaper for those reasons we kind of outlined. If you want to play Zion, by all means, have at it. Like, he's going to make 1 or 2% owned. This stuff's going to shuffle up to some degree, but I don't think he moves much. Just the way things kind of line up. Harden, of course, we get a big bump off that 2% current ownership if Embiid doesn't go. And then, of course, if Embiid doesn't go, whoever is starting for Philadelphia. And like you said, and we've seen it before, and a lot of it's just like performance. Like, okay, who is playing better? Is Harrell playing better? Okay, he's going to stay on the court longer. Is Reed playing better? He's going to stay on the court longer. And there's no projections that are going to tell you that. It's the simulation. Here's the 1-of-1 simulation. Who's playing well? And then that's who's going to close. That's who's going to play. And, or foul trouble. Both those guys can be handsy as well. It can be determined that way. And we are getting a little bit over.
Embiid, a game time decision now. And D'Angelo Russell, he had the fish gene, is now questionable. He's now questionable. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I figured we get worthless. Do we ever get like an official Embiid update at 5 o'clock? Never, right? It's always 7 o'clock game or 7:30 game, and we get it like at 6:45 or something. They never seem to give us the Embiid information.
That Russell news is kind of interesting though, because that's an 8 o'clock start, so we might not know until after lock. That really kind of puts Jalen Noel in the driver's seat for some really, really big minutes.
Has he fallen back as far as his price? Because he's had some games where, let's see, he's 4-2 on DK and 5-2 on FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean those are two really, really great prices.
They might start Rivers for what it's worth, but like I'm not playing Austin Rivers.
Yeah, still though.
Yeah,
you still play Noel though.
It's an Austin Rivers revenge game against Denver. He was there for a couple of years. There you go.
Oh yeah. You can play. You can play him, Dean, and you can let me know how it turns out. How about that?
I'm good. He actually had a couple of good games earlier this year, but like he was shooting insanely as far as efficiency and getting like 5 stocks, and I don't think that's repeatable. But good for you if you roster him that night. Is there anything else we're saying as far as New Orleans, Philadelphia? 228 is the total. New Orleans 4-point dog currently. But again, a lot of this is up in the air with Embiid. It's a weird argument. Like Embiid in, you'd think Valanciunas would probably be more likely to be on the court. Like his size, his girth is necessary. If Embiid's out, I mean, we have a decent projection, not a great projection, but just because like things are thin right now. Like Hernan Gomez can play 18 backup minutes or so, and we've seen him get going on occasion. We've even seen Jackson Hayes. Like there is other options. There's no Nance. I like to close at Nance, but just recognize there are other bigs lurking there. But certainly
it's just that he's 1%. So I'm saying you could play like 3%. Like I'm not, or 5%. I'm not saying that he has to become like a staple in your portfolio, but I think he becomes a little bit more interesting.
I love that we call it a portfolio. It's like we're just making a lineup. But yeah, I guess if you're making 100, it's a portfolio.
Well, what am I supposed to call it if you're making like more than 20? What's the right word? I don't know.
Lines. You're supposed to call them lines.
No, I'm not going down that road. No way.
Yeah, I never. There's a Twitter. I've seen people say, "Oh, I made 17 lines." What? This isn't hockey. There's lines in hockey. There ain't no lines in NBA lineups. All right. Did you watch wasn't that thing going down today in Fenway? Is that that was happening today, right? The hockey.
The Winter Classic.
I couldn't think of the name of it for some reason. I was trying to get there. I was saying words.
I watched the first 2 periods, but I don't even know how it ended.
Yeah, it's such a cool spectacle. I'm down here in South Florida. I'm pretty sure we're never going to get one, but we go to the All-Star game. I might go to the All-Star game this year. We'll see, but it might coincide with the Super Bowl. I think it's end of the month of February. But anyways, next game. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Cavs. The Cavs are playing against the Bulls. 222.5 is the total. As far as the Bulls, Javonte Green is questionable, not a big deal. Everybody else should be fine. Caruso should be okay with his shoulder. Cleveland is the big deal here. Darius Garland's got a thumb, so he's unlikely to play. Not officially ruled out, but he is doubtful. The big, Dean Wade doesn't matter, but he's out. Evan Mobley, that's a big deal. He's questionable with his ankle. Got a pretty good price, actually, on both DK and on Fanduel. But, we talked about it already. Karis LeVert, especially on DK, is popping as one of the slate's biggest values. You already took a stand. Like, you feel like he's going to be in your single entry lineup. He'll be different elsewhere. You want to, bring that point home. Talk about Mobley if he goes. If he doesn't go, I guess Kevin Love could be interesting again. We'll see. But, we probably have an if-then in this, I imagine. But you take it away.
We do. And, if Mobley sits, it's going to be very similar to Saturday's slate where we had LeVert and Love just absolutely crush. It's going to be the same thing. So it's not going to be anything different. I honestly like Kevin Love on FanDuel. Like that's like probably going to be an even better value play than Slow-Mo and LeVert. Like he might become the top value on FanDuel, and then he probably becomes like a top 3 value on DraftKings. The question becomes, much like Saturday, is if you want to play Donovan Mitchell or not. And he busted he was like 25-30% owned on Saturday, and he busted pretty hard. I personally am not going to play him today just because, just like on Saturday, I want to go more stars and scrubs. And so I don't see that 89 or 9,000 price tag really fitting into what I want to be doing today.
He's not a star?
No. He's
not Luka. He's fringy star, I guess, right?
He's a very, very fringy star. So I'm not really going to get to him today. It's really just going to be Love and LeVert for me.
That's insulting. Not calling him a star. A little bit insulting. He's going to be an all-star.
He's like a B+ star.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
he's not the first star you call. Like he's the backup guy.
He's definitely not the first star you call.
And he's also in that like Lillard and Zion bucket of he's got to score 30 points at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's not necessarily going to pepper the box score elsewhere. You talk about the if-then that's already set up. Like Love would just be awesome if Mobley doesn't go. But 35 DK points, 33 FanDuel points projected. I assume he will start, but again, stay tuned on that. As far as the Bulls, are you excited about the Bulls picking on the best defense here in Cleveland?
especially if Mobley plays, then they have no shot. I had a little bit of interest in maybe Zach LaVine, but maybe on FanDuel. But I have that's kind of like if you land on him as like a last piece and you don't want to like redo your entire lineup, maybe you could do it. But I don't think he's going to be around 5% owned on both sites. I mean, I don't know if I'd even get to that much if I was making 150.
How many stars are there on the Bulls?
I mean, they're equivalent to Donovan,
right? But Donovan's not a star.
Right. I mean, there's like 2 B+ stars.
Yeah. It's all B+ players, right?
Yeah.
None by the Luka, LeBron, that's standard. But there's different levels. There should be different levels in the Hall of Fame, right? Like the guys that kind of eke in probably shouldn't be in the same room as like Hank Aaron.
All of our veteran viewers will recognize what is now Dean stirring the pot.
I'm just not gonna. You can't do that with me though. I'm untouchable, Dean.
He'll get chat riled up. Don't worry.
I'm trying to rile up chat. I'm trying to be antagonistic. I don't know why. I just thought it was funny you say Mitchell's not a star. I understand what you're saying. Obviously. But like if Mitchell's not a star, like the Bulls supposedly 3 stars. You're saying none. But star is like a generic term, obviously.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's. I don't know. I mean, I don't think Vucevic, DeRozan, or Levine are like true stars. Just like I don't think Mitchell's a true star.
All right, we're gonna keep this theme going. Zion's a star.
He's gonna be. He's
not a star yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a bigger star than the 4 guys we just talked about. He's bigger than them, but he's not like a true star yet. But he will be in like another year.
He's a star on layaway, basically. As long as he stays healthy, lays out the Mountain Dew or whatever, he's good to go.
Right.
All right.
What's wrong with Mountain Dew, Dean?
He does Mountain Dew commercials.
Oh, he does. Okay.
I remember there was a commercial he did of Mountain Dew. He was like playing video games. And this is what people were alleging like he was and who I'm not shaming in any way, but people were saying that like he was a little too husky for being an NBA basketball player, and he's doing commercials like playing video games and drinking Mountain Dew. It's just whatever. Which is fine. Again, good for him. Get your money. Get your Mountain Dew money. He's not getting paid star money. I'll tell you that. Soon enough, though. Toronto, Indiana, 233 is the total. Another game at 7 o'clock, by the way. Again, 4 games at 7. You got to make some quick decisions. This one's pretty high and it's tight, right? Indiana's just a 1-point favorite here. Freddie VanVleet is questionable. That's a big deal. Precious is questionable. That's not a big deal. Indiana is fully healthy. The Pacers got everybody available to go. We ran on some stars earlier, and I'm curious now. I got to keep the theme going. Like at least DFS wise, Pascal Siakam is a star. We can say that, right?
Yeah.
I think
he's my favorite like tournament play on the slate. Like sub, like he's my favorite like contrarian star, I guess is what I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, and like if in the rankings of stars, right? LeBron and Durant.
Right.
I actually did my rankings earlier today. I think you did it as well for the that's part of the premium you get. Again, go to the live stream chat channel, open the RotoGrinders, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Hit up the live stream chat channel. The bot, I believe, is either started or it's starting shortly. We're closing it on 5:30. Just click that bot button, hit the enter button, hit enter. You'll be eligible to win 1 week free of RotoGrinders Premium. 2 winners will be selected. Myself and yourself. I think you're on there as far as the expert rankings. And I was having a hard time figuring out, and they're all similar price, like LeBron, Durant, Pascal. And then projections-wise, we always talk about Pascal. He can play 42 minutes. You're not projecting him at 42, but he certainly can. Is he going to be contrarian amongst those 3? Is that your estimation?
Absolutely. Between like who are we talking about? LeBron,
Durant.
Durant, I don't think Durant's not gonna have now. Durant will be the lowest owned.
Okay.
But I think that's some very, very, very serious blowout risk in that game, and I don't think that Durant necessarily has to be like a huge part of that. So I'm kind of off of Durant. Like obviously I don't want to tell anybody not to play Durant. He's an absolute monster. He is a true star, but I don't like that. I don't really. That game is, I don't know. That game's not. I think it's going to be a blowout. So I'm just concerned. But in terms of like LeBron, Ball, who else? It's going to be higher owned. Maybe Jokic.
I think Jokic kind of gets lost a little bit because I think people are going to spend on Luka first. Different position, obviously. And there's 10-game slate. You're going to find centers that you like. There's a lot of places to stop when you're working your way up the ladder. So I think Jokic is kind of, I don't want to say fully ignored, but like maybe 10%. We have projections. We'll talk about it. But I think I saw Jokic was relatively projected low. Here, you can sort by this. Yeah, go ahead.
13% for Jokic on both sides.
Interesting. We got Durant 3%, LeBron at 23%, and like you said, Pascal in the middle at 13%. And we're giving him 39 minutes for what it's worth. 39 minutes versus Indiana. A 54-point projection. That's a median projection on DK, which is a pretty good. It's a really good number.
A really, really good median projection and not like out of hand ownership. So because I'm like, I play kind of like single entry, lower risk type contests, I'm probably going to play Harden if Embiid sits.
Yeah.
But if Embiid doesn't sit, I want to go Luka and Siakam. But a great pivot off of the Harden chalk would still be Pascal, in my opinion. And he does get he's center power forward on both sides now. He used to just be I think center on DK, and now he gets multi-positional eligibility on both sides, which is really awesome.
If I plug in Luka and Pascal on DK, I have 4-5 left per. I can fill that out with like respectable players.
I think so, yeah.
No stars though. No more stars.
No more stars. You can't even get B+ stars, Dean.
We're working on the D list, I think, as far as what's left. I'm just trying to figure out who.
Because remember, you're going to play Karras in that lineup.
Yeah, but he's more than the average. He's 4'8".
That's all right. He's 4'8". You'll live, Dean. Don't worry. It'll be.
I'm
okay.
trying to figure this out. Do you have a cheat code of some sort where you get extra salary?
Well, I mean,
a guy.
Well, we've got a lot of games at the back end of the slate that are to be determined, right?
Yeah.
In terms of injury. You can always hope for some news, and Golden State has some cheap pieces that you can get to.
Yes, Kevon Looney might be in your future.
Yep.
Does he close tonight, or we're not even sure? Does it not necessarily matter? He's going to get there by the third quarter. We'll talk about that, but put that one in your hat. A lot of guys for Golden State are still missing. Kuminga, a new one added to the list. All right. As far as the Raptors, do we have an if-then if Freddie does not play? I feel like we probably do.
We do. Yep. I haven't looked at it, though.
So we're giving – Trent's. Trent is another guy. He's kind of like a poor man's Lillard or whatever. Just he's super, super reliant on putting points in the bucket. If he's not putting points in the bucket, he's not making fantasy points. He's probably going to get kicked off the court at some point as well. But he gets a projection bump up to 32 DK points, 31 on FanDuel, 36 minutes projection as well. Barnes and OG 36 as well. No surprise. That's not an FEV thing. That's where they're going to be. And then fifth guy,
you can't play Gary Trent on FanDuel though. He's 7,000.
Yeah, I can't do that.
So it doesn't matter. Gary Trent's out of play, unless everybody sits on Toronto. But
he's low owned. That's the alternate. That's the counter. But I'm
good. I'm good, man. You can play him in your Rivers stat.
Jokic and Trent in the same lineup. That seems like terrible. I'm not doing that. That's not happening. One of the better centers, I think, on the slate. Miles Turner's got a pretty favorable price as well on DK. Ownership's reflecting it. 22% ownership on the Indiana side. Again, they're fully healthy, but and Buddy Hield's got a fair price. Perfectly fine. 6K betting on that 3-point variance. Halliburton is a star. I think he's a star in the making. I think he's going to be an all-star. I love Halliburton. Well, you say yes, he's a star.
I would make him higher than Mitchell, and Zach LaVine,
and DeRozan.
And yeah.
I don't believe the public agrees with that. Now I agree with you, but I don't. Does the public agree that like Halliburton's
It's just because those other guys have been around longer. That's the only reason.
Yeah, I mean Halliburton's only he's only had a small sample size, but it is also progressing. He's getting better and better, and we're seeing this isn't the best. I don't think we're going to get him. He's still really young, maybe 23. He's super young still.
Right.
We can take a shot at the Kings. Good job, Kings. You got Domantas Sabonis. There you go. 28-year-old Domantas Sabonis. All right. If Freddie's in, do we like Freddie at all?
I would say he's neutral. I don't think that you can get to him on FanDuel at 8,300. At 7,600 on DK, he's okay. I certainly don't want to like pump him up too much. I don't think he's like some kind of smash play, but I think he's okay. He's kind of at a very, very strange price point where he's kind of too expensive for like a balance build approach, and he doesn't really fit in like a stars and scrub approach. And I mean, he'll be low owns, but I just this team has too many bodies, so I'm not a huge fan of him tonight.
Who's your favorite player on the Pacers?
So like if you don't agree that this is like a good stars and scrub type night, then Miles Turner I think is in a really, really good spot on both FanDuel and DraftKings. I don't think that I'll be able to get to him. He's carrying quite a bit of ownership too, which makes me a little bit nervous. But I think it's a really, really good spot for him. So I would go Turner over Halliburton because I think OG is going to guard Halliburton, which is like not good for Halliburton. It's not a good spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, good defender. And it just he doesn't seem all that necessary. Again, like, can he surpass all the guys we've talked about or compete with all those guys or somehow overcome them? Sure. But it seems fairly unlikely. Ownership's reflecting that 3% Halliburton. If you're running 150, would you get 2% Halliburton, 1%, 4%, or not?
Yeah, no. I think that I would just probably match the field.
Yeah. Caruso,
because this could be an interesting game stack. So like I wouldn't want to like X amount of my player pool, but I'd have to be making a lot of lineups for him to get into that player pool.
They're talking about it in chat. Derek's talking about LaMelo being a better play, and I agree. LaMelo's a better player than Halliburton, but ownership's going to reflect that.
Yeah,
certainly better fantasy. I don't know, star, not star. LaMelo, is he a star? Ask his dad. He'll tell you he's got 3 stars, right?
Mm-hmm. I think LaMelo's a star.
I think so too. But just wanted to stay with that theme. Anything else as far as Toronto, Indiana that we should point out before we move on and talk about the Lakers, LaMelo, and the Hornets?
Nope, we can go to LaMelo and the Hornets.
Yeah, so we kind of teased this one earlier as this being just an awesome, awesome matchup. LeBron, we assume he's good to go with his 38-year-old ankle. Lonnie Walker's got a butt. He's got a tailbone, so he cannot play. Not a big deal, just kind of worth noting. I did want to say butt, I think. Kelly Oubre is out for Charlotte. DSJ available to play for Charlotte. And I guess it's just funny what's going on. What's the news? Mark Williams is just, that guy's dominating the world when he gets out there. I didn't know who he was, but shout out to whoever played Mark Williams the last couple of days. I don't think he's necessarily relevant. What was the game? It was a game against OKC in 21 minutes, 45 DK points. And I believe he vaulted who was playing the backup. Richards was getting 0 minutes, right? And he came back and he's available. Why even bring the guy back if he's not going to play? But I guess he was healthy enough to sit on the bench and get 0 fantasy points. 242.5 is the total. Charlotte is a 2-point favorite. High, tight, fast, bad defense. LeBron, the price on DK especially, it's really appealing at 10.3K, 10.8 on FanDuel. You can make that work, but a little bit tougher. Westbrook coming off the bench. We have the matchup against against the Hornets as far as bigs. Bryant is well positioned. We talk about centers. If you can't get the Jokic, he's right there with Turner. As far as guys in the mids here, I think it's a really, really solid play. Talk about the Lakers first. I do love the idea of playing LeBron and Ball together. I'm not sure about a la carte. Maybe we'll see how lineup construction goes when we get off the air. But your thoughts as far as the team from LA?
Yeah, 10K for LaMelo on DK is kind of tough, but it's obviously an amazing, amazing game environment. LeBron at 10-3 on DK seems way just super, super cheap. But, I mean, it's like there's just so many stars. So I don't know if I necessarily want to play like the chalkiest star. Even though, I mean, this game is just like, it's just so hard. It's so hard to get away from this game. Like, and the other thing is like Gordon Hayward at 50, I think it's 5,700. Like, that seems really, really cheap. I know he's been really, really bad, but he's still going to be out there. Like, it's still going to be like a really, really good spot for him. So I think that he is a really good GPP play. Like, you could contrarian stack this game with like Thomas Bryant, like Terry Rozier on DK and Gordon Hayward on DK, something like that. That might be a good way to get exposure in like a large field setting and not eat a ton of chalk in a very, very chalky game.
I'm not sure if you mentioned Jalen McDaniels, but he's like looks really, really good on DK as like essentially the sixth man there for Charlotte. Charlotte's going to play a really tight rotation. Not expecting him to start, but he's going to still play 27, 28, 29, 30 minutes. I think he's a pretty solid defender as well. So I can see them throwing him on LeBron. Good luck, but don't mind him on the cheap. That's a cheap way to get. And also our projections like him too. I'm not sure.
I forgot. I forgot to mention him. I'm glad you brought him up because I completely forgot about him. Yeah, our projections love him, and he's going to be like very, very popular right now. I'm okay with it. I mean, you're definitely going to be eating some ownership, and the same thing with like Westbrook on DK. He's going to be 10% owned, 7,500. This game is like set up perfectly for him. So it's fine. I'm just concerned, I guess. LeBron better really smash the ceiling at this ownership with all these other studs he's got to go up against tonight on this slate. That's my only concern. Like, if you're playing cash games and you're not so worried about a ceiling, that's fine. You can play LeBron. I'm just a little bit concerned him going up against all these studs tonight.
Precious Achiuwa available to play. Freddie VanVleet available to play. Does that tick Pascal just a little bit to knock him down, or he's still obviously really good, but
no, I because we had a FEV projected in, so that doesn't really change much for me. That's if anything, that's not going to increase his ownership that much, and I still really think he's a really, really great play. The real question is still the Embiid news and what that's going to do with Harden. That's really going to be my decision tonight.
Breaks wants us to give us who wins the game and who loses the game. We don't really do that. I mean,
don't ask me to do that. Yeah.
I mean, we could do that. We can speculate, sure. Check out scoresandodds.com for all your gambling and sports betting needs. By all means, check that out. And
they want to know which game, who's going to win?
Just in general, that's just like who wins and who loses the games. I mean, I haven't really put a lot of – like sometimes I'll have a take. I'll have a lean, but I don't like – if it comes up organically, sure. MJ wins games, LeBron loses them is the take there in chat. Oh, boy. Austin Reeves bounce back game. I mean, are we playing Austin Reeves? He's really cheap. He's got to make his threes, right? I assume the thought is like there's an opening there with what's the dude with his butt that's not playing?
Lonnie Walker.
Yeah. So I guess he's going to draw the start, but Westbrook's going to come in and still play his 30 minutes off the bench. I don't see myself getting to Reeves, but I guess he's in the pool. Sure.
I guess. I mean, we have projected for 20 DK points and 9% ownership, so it'd be a way to like get contrarian in this really good game environment. So I don't hate it.
The real question, by the way, according to the chat, and if anybody can answer, it's you. You've cheese expert, wine expert, basketball expert. Now you're an expert on stars. LaMelo versus Halliburton. Who's a bigger star?
Oh, LaMelo.
Really? Oh, that was a quick answer. Snap call.
Yeah.
Really? Okay. Well, LaMelo he's sexier, right? He's got better marketing behind him. He's still really young. I think he's 21 also. Next 5 years, you want LaMelo?
I was just talking about basketball talent, but I guess attractiveness matters too, Dean. So
you got to factor it all in.
Right. No, in 5 years, I'm taking Ball.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you. I think it's close, but I feel like I take Halliburton, who might be like a year and a half older. Gary Trent will remain in the lineup there for Toronto. Markieff Morris is not playing basketball tonight. Okay. Yeah, I think he had the fish. He was ill. Are we going to get more stuff from or is that just we're just going to get one thing and that's that? Well, stay tuned for that because things could get interesting, I suppose. Achua is playing or is available to play. We don't care, right? Doesn't matter. That doesn't affect anything?
No.
Okay. Didn't think so. Like Koloko, Boucher, they have a bunch of dudes like as a fifth guy for Toronto, and none of them.
I
Especially,
wouldn't be able to tell you who's going to play all the minutes in that rotation. You know what I mean? It's tough to parse. So that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I don't think one guy rises up. And there's Wancho. It's still lurking, and some of these guys might get DMPCDs. Just 10-game slate. What are we doing? We're not talking about that.
Right.
LaMelo's 10K on DK. You kind of touched on that. 9-7 on Fanduel. Fanduel is grabbing a little bit more ownership. You mentioned Gordon Hayward. You mentioned Rozier. Rozier's like kind of like he's a consolation prize. Like if you can't get the ball, like okay, I'll take Rozier. We talk about McDaniels.
I'm just worried about his ownership on FanDuel. It's 36%.
Woof.
Like
that's too high.
I'm just concerned. I don't know how much I would really want to have exposure to him in like large field tournaments.
I'm giving it a refresh. Let's see. 5. Okay, so we just got ownership refresh, so maybe this will change. Maybe it'll dip down. That seems a little too high in my brain. So I feel like it's gonna go lower.
33.
Okay. Yeah. By the way, Thomas Bryant.
That's still really high. Yeah.
You see Bryant's ownership?
30. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
Center and center only. It's people just like I'll take anybody that's tall that plays against Charlotte, and that's that.
Because that's becoming such like a widely known thing. I bet you that's a little bit of a hedge, just because everyone just keeps talking about centers against Charlotte, and of course the game environment. Like there's not a better.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing a total higher than this. Like I've seen plenty of like 240s, but I don't remember seeing anything higher than like a 242.
I'm checking out. I want to see if the defense versus archetype matchup tool, if that kind of checks out as far as because like not all centers are created equal. Like Gobert is a center and Jokic is a center, but those guys play distinctly different. So it's I understand people make blanket statements as a cheat code and it's like a catch me all, and it works a lot of times, but it doesn't always work. Just sort of throwing that out there. And yeah, Bryant not as popular on DK. I'm seeing in the chat, Mr. Richard saying it's 13.7%. Still going to get some ownership for sure, but. Looks like he gets that Fanduel build a little bit more for whatever reason. And I'm having a tough time accessing this defense versus archetype matchup tool. So I'm going to move on, and we'll look back on it in a second. Anything else of note here as far as Lakers, Charlotte? Awesome game environment. I think we stressed that one. Amongst the 10 on the board, this is certainly on the podium as far as the top 3 most popular, most appealing, yes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, Spurs. This is a big total. Most of the points are going to Brooklyn. Brooklyn is favored by 12 points against the Spurs. The Spurs are horrific defensively. 236.5 is the total as far as this game. As far as injuries, I think we're pretty clear in this game, right? Give me 1 second. Devin Vassell is going to play. He was questionable earlier. He's going to play. And KBD is still out. Brooklyn, Markieff Morris is out. That doesn't really matter, I don't think. Joe Harris is available. Brooklyn still has plenty of dudes. I'm trying to think who would play some backup. Claxton gets the 5. You got Simmons at the 5. TJ Warren is he's been good. Good for TJ Warren.
Yep.
Will he mop up in this game to some degree against San Antonio if it gets ugly? Does he stick around?
I think they're just going to play him whatever they're going to play him. I think he's going to play 30 minutes and that's it. So he could I guess the question is, do they give him a little bit of rest if this game's truly out of hand? I guess the answer probably is yes, because he's coming back from such a long stint of being injured. So yeah. I don't think that I guess I don't think he mops up. And, this game, I'm struggling kind of what to say about this game because you obviously want exposure to it, but I think that it ends up being kind of like a game where the Nets kind of just control throughout, and kind of nobody ends up having GPP winning upside, and then the game ends up blowing out. That's kind of, but maybe that's just me hoping, right? Like, because obviously the Spurs have the worst defense in the NBA, and they're going to get absolutely crushed. I would say, I think you need a run back in this game. Like, I think that if you're going to play Kyrie or Durant or something like that, you need to run it back with like a Keldon Johnson or Jakob Pertl, something like that. Like you need some kind of pushback in this game, is my opinion.
I hate the run backs this game. Pertl is really cheap for what it's worth.
It's probably Pertl. It's probably a run back. But you're right though, and that's why I kind of struggle with this game. Is that I hate the run backs, but I think you need one.
I like Keldon if Vassell wasn't playing. Vassell's back, so like he's going to kind of go fall back a little bit. By the way, I did access the NBA defense versus archetype matchup tool. Another thing you can get if you have RotoGrinders Premium. And how can you get RotoGrinders Premium? Well, you can pay for it, or you can get it for free. Go to RotoGrinders.
Hang on, Dean.
Yeah.
The giveaway bot has broken again on us, so we're gonna probably have to roll these two potential winners over to a later one this week, where we'll run it back.
Gosh. I feel terrible now, Devin. What can we do?
It's the 2023. It's Y2K all over again. It's crashed everything.
Y2K had a good marketable name. Like, what do they call them? what do we call this? What is this symptom?
YT3K.
They're not as catchy, right? And I'm not afraid.
It's a little more molasses. Yeah, it doesn't flow.
You just slow roll the whole chat, Dean. How do you like that?
I apologize on behalf of like Y2K or whatever's going on behalf of the bots. You know, I'm reading the prompter. That's that. I don't control such things. Kyrie's got the best. It's the worst defense in basketball from a macro perspective, from a micro perspective. Combo guards. If you're going to call Kyrie a combo guard, these Spurs have given up more fantasy points to combo guards this year than anybody else. The best matchup. Durant, by the way, the third best matchup if you call him a versatile forward, which I think is a versatile forward. That makes sense. Also, TJ Warren, they're giving him a versatile forward tag, and he is getting the third best matchup. And retroactively, as speculated, Thomas Bryant has the third best matchup in basketball if you call him a versatile big. The Hornets giving up the third most fantasy points to versatile bigs. So you see how we just separate, they're not calling him a forward or power forward or whatever. Yeah, as we suspected, it all kind of checks out. Good plays across the board. The tricky thing, like you said, if you're going to get maximum output from Durant or Kyrie, if they're going to somehow play 38, 39, 40 minutes, it just, how San Antonio, somebody's theoretically is going to do really well for them, and we can't really isolate who that is confidently, I don't think. Right?
Yeah, definitely not confidently. Like, I just certainly don't have like one guy where I'm like, yeah, running back with this guy, and that's why I really struggle with this game. Like, I don't know if I can honestly recommend playing a one-off of Kyrie, even though he's like in an amazing spot. Mobley's out.
Oh, it's Kevin Love season.
Yeah, and Garland's officially out, so we already knew that anyway. But Mobley's out, so it's Kevin Love, it's LeVert season all over again.
If you want to go to dinner and not worry about what's happening after 7:00, you can make yourself a pretty good lineup at 7:00. LeVert and Love, you can run LeBron versus LaMelo. I think I guess you can make that work. A lot of good plays early is kind of the point I'm getting at. Who knows what's going to happen with Embiid? If Embiid doesn't go, depending on who starts, or even if they don't start, Paul Reed and Harrell, one of them should be really, really solid. You mentioned Valanciunas. Lots of good plays 7:00. We'll probably walk back in a second and see what our projections do. But, we're assuming.
And Love is starting.
Okay. Yeah. So, how do you not play Kevin Love?
Yeah, you're playing Kevin Love and you're playing LeVert. That's, it's one of those things where basketball is a different sport than the other sports that we play, where I strongly recommend getting overweight on the chalk, where in baseball and other sports, there's like more game theory. But in these situations, it's like, what do I say? Like, they're going to be 60% owned. Like, I say lock button, or maybe if you're not okay with that, go 80%. But I honestly stress getting overweight on these guys in basketball.
We saw Love get to 34 minutes on New Year's Eve in the similar situation. I don't know if he's going to get to 34. I don't think you need 34 minutes.
You don't need 34 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically, with those two guys, you're fading injury and foul trouble. That's it. And you can't play DFS with those kind of concerns. Like if you're going to worry about stuff like that. And so if they're going to be out there, they're going to do really, really well.
Yeah. Love's, we just got an ownership update, and of course, like Love's going to blow that up because he's going to suck up so much, especially DK. Well, both, but he was 4-7 on DK, 5-5 on Fanduel, still a really good price. And he's not locked in at center and center only. He's got power forward / center versatility. So, look, he's
same thing with Levert. Same thing with Levert. He's shooting guard, small forward. Like they both have that MPE that is so valuable.
We didn't really talk about Jared Allen, but Jared Allen's interesting. Just like it's like on DK he's 6'6", on Fanduel he's 7'7". Hard to get 7'7" on Fanduel. Of course, if he gets going from a block perspective, you get that extra point on Fanduel. But ownership will reflect it. And we mentioned Mitchell in passing, but there's certainly a world where Mitchell says, screw it, I'm going to score 40 points tonight, and that's that. Like that can happen.
I'm not going to talk about Mitchell again because you're just going to troll me about who's a star and who isn't. So I'm not going to bring that up again.
Just tell me to shut up. I'm just stirring the pot and having a good time. All right, so Denver is playing against Minnesota. 232 is the total here. Denver is a 3-point favorite here. The news we got on the show is that D'Angelo Russell is downgraded to questionable. Never really like those midday downgrades. An illness. Who knows how ill he may or may not be. Cat, of course, is still out. As far as Denver should be, pretty healthy. Jamal Murray is likely to go. I assume he's back from his rest. But the big story here, we kind of speculate, is what if Russell doesn't go? Like, of course, if you want to spend up on Jokic, have at it. We saw Kyle Anderson slow-mo getting a lot of ownership earlier today. Now he's not the best. He's gonna
get a huge decrease now with Love.
That's what I think. Like he's still going to get owned, obviously, but yeah. Talk about Minnesota.
Jalen Noel is still my guy. If Russell sits, if Russell doesn't sit, I guess slow-mo is okay. He doesn't really thrill me that much. I want to see his updated ownership with this Love news. I certainly was not going to be rostering him at like 56% on FanDuel. So, but that'll go down quite a bit. But this game isn't great unless Russell sits. And then I think Anthony Edwards comes into play. Noel comes into play. But for the most part, I'm not really that enthused with it.
Greg in chat's asking if we're doing Monday night lineup tonight. Is that maybe Monday Night Football he's asking about? I suppose there is a showdown show. Awesome game, by the way. If you want to watch some football, Buffalo versus Cincinnati should be a good time for sure. Are you on that show? Are you playing some NFL this evening?
I'm not on the show, but I will be playing DFS Showdown.
You have a take to get out to the people before? Have you figured out a take?
I haven't looked at one thing. I haven't looked at one piece of salary or anything. I've only done basketball. I'm going to do research after the show.
Same. I did see Cole Beasley was elevated up, so I guess he might. I don't know if he's like crazy cheap. Or something. You don't want to. No, he's super cheap. Salary things and Showdown and the 1K. I don't know if he's 1K. I have no clue. 7:45. Check out the channel at 7:45. Someone will be hosting a show and breaking it down, helping y'all out. Fred wants to know Bryant, Looney, or Derek. Who's Derek? I know Looney. I know Bryant.
He's talking to Derek in chat.
Oh, well, you know what? Derek's the answer, obviously. What's his ceiling? Derek's ceiling. Yeah. All right. That's, you know what? If you're not going to follow the chat, this is what happens, Dean. I just kind of jumped in the middle of a conversation. Cole is 2-4 for what it's worth. You get like a 5-yard touchdown over the middle or something like that. Hey, Jokic is going to be, I don't want to say ignored, but, we're looking at 12, 14% on DK. Center and center only. He's awesome, obviously. I'm not afraid of the Gobert matchup. Maybe it hurts him a little bit as far as rebounds, but, I'm not afraid of Gobert. And Jokic is matchup proof, and he's also a guy that, unlike other stars like Zion and Lillard, who are super reliant on scoring 30 points, he doesn't need to score 30 points. He can. It's nice when he does it. but he can put up like 21, 14, and 13. You know, he can get there that way too. Your thoughts as far as Jokic and the rest of Denver?
Yeah, I debated whether or not Pascal or Jokic should be like my favorite tournament play out of all the stars. So I mean, he's definitely like number 3, assuming Embiid plays. Jokic is certainly number 3. I really prefer like getting different on FanDuel with Jokic. That seems to be working like all the time. Just like people don't play Jokic on FanDuel because they end up playing some chalkier mid-range center, and then Jokic just goes completely insane. So I think that he makes like for a better like large field tournament play on FanDuel. But either way, like there's nothing bad you can say about him. And I agree with you. I'm not intimidated by Gobert with Jokic. Like nobody can guard Jokic, not even Gobert. So if you are, if you're building your team and you like Jokic, then. And honestly, at 13%, I would be overweight on both sites. If I was making 20 more teams, I would on both sites. I think I would get over that 13% ownership mark.
If you trade like 6 first-round picks for a guy, you got to be trading for a superstar, right? So Gobert, superstar by that math? He's star?
That trade is going to be really bad for them. I mean, that's going to be an all-time bust trade.
Yeah, and like tall guys that like don't score. Can't shoot. I'm sure he's going to age well. He's already 30. Man.
Yeah,
he does not fit the profile basketball player in 2022, 2023. Yeah. All right. Good luck, Minnesota. I get why they made the move because, they did something. They tried, but what's the gift for
Nas Reed now questionable.
Oh, what's his deal? Has he got a body part?
Body part. They gave him a back, I think.
Okay.
Roy O'Neal now questionable.
That's like, you're playing in San Antonio. You want to chill tonight? They gave him an illness, but maybe he's actually sick. I just think that like it's a good spot to rest a player if you want to rest somebody against San Antonio.
No, definitely.
Just pure speculation, wild speculation. There's no, I have no facts behind that, but.
Minnesota is going to be like the wild card tonight, and they're stuck right in between the 7 and the 10 o'clock games, and they're just going to be they're going to pull some weird stuff tonight.
How good of a play like is Jalen Noel if Russell doesn't play? Am I stopping my lineup process for the possibility of that? Like, is he really going to smash? Because we've seen it before, and he's pretty scoring reliant, and if he's not making his he doesn't even he's not even guaranteed to close. I
know.
He's not going to start. He's not guaranteed to close. He might play 22 minutes.
No, you're right. You probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't stop your lineup process just for him, but it's close. Like, I hate that they play Austin Rivers so much. I think it's so stupid that they play him. Whatever.
Well, he's a professional basketball player, Austin Rivers. He's just he can sort of fill in, and he's fine.
But can't he be a professional from the bench?
He's a good locker room guy. Yeah.
Right.
Hit that like button, everybody in chat. Feel free to fire up your questions as well. Crunch Time crew coming in about 20 minutes. You got Andy Means back from, I think he was on vacation. I assume he was on vacation. I don't know if it was a staycation, whatever it was. Hopefully he's refreshed and good to go. Kevin Roth and is it STL Cards? I'm not certain who's joining him. Somebody else who's really savvy from a basketball perspective will give you some tournament takes. Taking y'all straight up the lock. That's the Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time, about 20 minutes. Let's get some likes before they jump in. Hit that subscribe button, too, if you're feeling frisky. Hey, subscribe so you know when that football show goes live at 7:45, but you know what I'm saying. All right. Besides Jokic, Denver's kind of Jokic or bust, right? I feel like you can play Murray if you want to. I'm not going to discourage it.
I have a little interest in MPJ, but nothing crazy. Like, he's going to be 2% owned, so I wouldn't mind getting to like 5% of him.
Yeah, and I don't know if you mentioned Anthony Edwards. You mentioned Edwards, but there's nothing about him that's sticking out. But for sure,
if they start losing bodies, though, that's what I'm talking about with this Minnesota game. Like, it's gonna be might end up with not a lot of guys. So Edwards could end up being a really, really good play.
And his minutes have been out of hand, too. He's almost in that Nick Nurse plan. They get him really, really close to 40, and his usage will be pretty high as well. So I don't disagree. He's got to be in the pool. And the 3% ownership we're seeing right now in DK, that's max price. I don't know if we've ever seen him beyond 9.5. They're asking 9.5, but he certainly could pay that off and then some. Anything else here that we should talk about, or shall we move on?
I think we should move on.
All right. By the way, just if O'Neal doesn't play, Royce O'Neal doesn't play, does TJ Warren, does anybody get a bump that's more interesting? That's 35 minutes to go around. They have plenty of bodies. Watanabe, Curry and Harris, lots of wings. Does anybody?
I think they're pretty committed to having TJ Warren play off the bench. Mm-hmm. So then I would assume that it brings up Curry or Harris into the starting lineup. I don't think that this does a whole heck of a lot for anybody, to be honest with you. I don't think it really changes the outlook of this game. I understand that there's a lot of minutes to go around, but I don't think it changes a whole heck of a lot.
Interesting. I don't disagree, but it's interesting because you'd think it would, but it's just
you think it would, but I mean he's not a high usage guy, so it's not like there's just minutes going around, not a lot of usage.
Yeah, speaking of body parts being out that may not necessarily change a ton, Dallas versus Houston, 226.5 is a total. The Luka Doncic's are favored by 8 points here. The Rockets have Alperen Sengun currently questionable with his back. That's another one. Bruno Fernando can start, but how uncomfortable is that? There's Garuba. I think Tari Eason's the most interesting amongst that group, but his minutes are just not solidified, but he's a good fantasy point minute player. They've also dusted off Boban on occasion. I think he played last game as well, not in blowout time. Oh, it's a revenge game for Boban. He really hates the Mavericks. Very angry. And Mavericks, as far as I know, he's perfectly fine with them. Hey, let's talk about Luka. Is he good? He's a star, right? Definitely. We're going to put him in the star bucket?
Yep, definitely in the star bucket. So obviously Luka is probably going to regress a little bit, and maybe he's not going to put up 85 to 100 fantasy points every single time he plays, but I'm still going to roster him. And especially he's not going to be super, super high owned. We have him at 15% on both sites right now. So I'm just going to keep riding Luka. I don't see any reason to jump off. I still think that he's technically a really good points per dollar value.
Yeah.
He's at least $600 too cheap. So I'm going to still play. I'm going to keep playing him. And now we definitely have enough value to do that. So, and we might even get more value. So even if we end up getting more value and his ownership comes up, I'm still going to roster him.
That's the point I was going to make. Our ownership does not reflect the Kevin Love stuff. Kevin Love is the guy that not only you're going to roster Kevin Love, but now I have money for Luka Doncic, and his ownership's certainly going to get elevated. He's going to slow down theoretically. I don't know, a matchup against Houston. We talk about the worst defense in the basketball playing tonight, San Antonio. We'll talk about Detroit. Houston's third. They're really bad, especially if Sengun's gone, another guy on the inside. And Luka gets a lot of points inside. He can shoot outside as well, too. But I saw him as far as post-up scoring, a bunch of – and Luka is in that conversation as well. He goes old school with the post-ups. Anybody else in Dallas, it is a revenge game for Christian Wood. You got to pay for it, but he's certainly going to pay up that salary here against Houston. I think Hardaway is going to play a ton of minutes. You're banking on him making threes and Luka not scoring. I suppose you can make threes off of Luka's assists. Other Mavericks that appeal to you. What do you got for me?
Nothing really sticks out. Christian Wood's okay, but his price is getting a little bit out of hand on both sides. I think THJ would be my second favorite. On FanDuel, he's grading out as a pretty decent value, but he will also carry some ownership. But really, it's just going to be Luka for me. I wouldn't prioritize any of the Dallas.
Dallas plays the slowest pace in basketball. We kind of touched on if Sengun is out, it's a lot of darts, and none of them look appealing. I would say Easton's my favorite amongst that group, but none of it feels safe. Of course, you can pay off Green. You can pay off KPJ. It's not the best spots for him, but if that's what you want to do, if you want to run something back with Luka. You had that rule where you're talking about the rule of San Antonio against Brooklyn. If you're going to play Durant, run somebody back in San Antonio. It doesn't sound like you have the same rule. If you want to play Luka, you're just going to play Luka, and you don't need somebody in Houston.
You definitely don't need somebody in Houston. Jalen Green would be my favorite if I happen to really want somebody, but I don't think you have to make a rule or anything for them. So this is just going to be Luka. I'm hoping he clips his 70 DraftKings points because that's what he needs, and I'm just going to move on. Like it's just I don't think that you really need anybody from Houston.
Anything else of note here, or shall we move on?
I think we can move on.
All right, Pistons. Talk about how terrible they are. 231.5 is the total there against Portland. Portland is about a 9 or 10 point favorite in this game. We're getting Gary Payton back today. That is the news. Expected to go first game of the year. I assume they bring him along slowly. Yusuf Nurkic is questionable with his illness. Winslow is still out as well. Suspension for Killian Hayes. He's not playing basketball tonight. Cade Cunningham essentially out for the season. How much do we care that Hayes is out and suspended? I've seen some speculation. Bay, we saw draw the start last time. There was thoughts that it might be Corey Joseph, thoughts that it might be Alec Burks. It feels like they like Alec Burks in that six-man role, veteran savvy, whatever. In Detroit, again, we always say, like, whenever they're theoretically good, like Alec Burks is not in their plans anyway, so I don't know how much they have to get out of him, but he certainly is a guy that can get going if they give him some minutes. I don't like this Detroit team. I wish I can just cross them out tonight and hope nobody gets there. Talk about the Pistons.
Sadiq Bey was very, very popular on Saturday, and he had a very bad game, and he's still showing up with ownership for tonight's slate, and I think that it's going to be – I think our ownership's a little high on him. I'm hoping it is maybe because I really like going back to him. I have a lot of interest in this game just like in a vacuum, but it's the wrong slate. Like I think that there's just so many other better games like on the slate that it's tough to get to, but I mean, I really would like to play Jalen Duren or Jaden Ivey or Sadiq Bey, but the way that their prices are and the way that the rest of the slate shakes out, I'm a little bit hesitant. Corey Joseph right now I think we have him for 30% ownership.
No, you got to refresh that. There's no way that's going to be.
I just refreshed like 5 minutes ago.
No. I don't believe that. I can't. We're projecting him for
20. All right, 27%. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the under on that.
Yeah, but either way, he's gonna have ownership, and I don't really like that. I don't think that's gonna be a play that I want to make. And he's gonna be 13% owned on DK. And they raised Bay's ownership on DK to now he's at 19. So it's interesting. I'll have to wait and see. I do like kind of like going back to Bay after he burned everybody last slate. Yeah. He was like 40% owned on Saturday in single entries.
That just shows how much people are paying attention because he was not considered to be the starter, and that game happened like at 8:00 or so, and that news came out like at 7:40. Do you remember this? I feel like it did. And then it's like, wow, everybody's paying attention because Bay is starting. And there was thought that it could be Joseph. There was thought that it could be Burks. And nobody's making plans. Everybody's just kind of like sitting at their computer, sitting at their laptop and waiting for the notifications to drop on Twitter. It's wild. I'm sure you've noticed that. Like this, people are on top of it.
Right. So it's just I do kind of like this whole game. Like I would like to play Damian Lillard tonight. I don't see myself getting him in like 17% owned on FanDuel, 10% on DK. Maybe I'd match the field. But I wouldn't just the way all these studs I think are just better plays tonight, even though I think this game is going to be really, really good from a fantasy perspective.
By the way, they put up an if-then for D'Angelo Russell. If Russell is out, we're projecting almost 49 DK points for Anthony Edwards. Pretty solid payoff there at 9.5, as that's a median score. And then Noel's projection is 26 on DK. So
and he's 4,200.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we said though, it's close to really adjusting how you build your lineups tonight.
Anyway, 28 fantasy points for what it's worth. Like he's the bigger value would be Noel amongst those two.
Yeah, for Slow-Mo, that's not too much of an increase though. I mean, he's like 5,500, so I can't imagine that's too much of an increase in value.
Lord King Guru's got a question in chat. Last power forward in. We're on port one. Do you want Jeremy Grant, Jared Allen, or Miles Turner? Single entry on FanDuel. Allen, Turner, or Grant?
Ooh. On FanDuel, they said?
Yeah.
It's really for me between Grant and Turner. I think I'm going to go with Turner.
Yeah, I think it's one of those two, and I don't have a hard stance. I think you could save salary. Isn't Allen like 7-7 and the other guy's a little bit cheaper? If you can upgrade elsewhere, if salary doesn't matter, I'd probably go Allen, but it's close. I love Lillard too, but do I have Lillard behind LaMelo? Probably not. Do I have him behind? Probably not. Behind LeBron? Probably not. But Lillard should smash whoever they're going to throw at him in Detroit. He's going to score 40 real points. That's good. Oh, good.
Yeah. But like we talked about with Zion though, is he going to put up enough peripherals to really crush his price tag? And that's always the concern with Lillard.
Probably not, but again, there's a certain point, when he hits 40 points, he's not going to get 0 assists and 0 rebounds. He'll give you 45 and 5 or something like that, right?
Right.
All right. Atlanta and Golden State's Capella is still out. Hunter is questionable with his ankle. 236. That's a pretty big total, high and tight. Golden State just a 1-point favorite. Wiseman is out. Curry obviously is out. Wiggins is out. Kuminga is a new one added there. Just 9 available bodies by my UCF math, if I'm counting this correctly, for Golden State. And then Patrick Baldwin and Ryan Rollins are 2 of those bodies. Ty Jerome and Moses Moody are 2 other those bodies. Anthony Lamb is the other body. Wait, it's 10. I miscounted. My UCF math is terrible. It's 10 bodies for Golden State. Still, the point still is made. They're really, really thin on the bench. Lamb, Jerome, Moody, Baldwin, Rollins, Poole, Thompson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Draymond and Looney. That's what we talked about. Looney was looking pretty appealing earlier today. Still going to be, I don't know. Is he going to be hitting optimals? We'll see. Center and center only on DK. Is he FanDuel center?
He's going to be hitting optimals on FanDuel. I mean, he's power forward center on FanDuel, and I think that he's going to be, I'd put him in the good shot category, at least on FanDuel.
Clay is kind of priced where he should be. 7-1, pretty good on DK. 7-6 on FanDuel. No 3-point bonus. Not nearly as appealing for me. Talk about the Warriors.
It's really Jordan Poole's coming in with a lot of ownership, and I'm not crazy about it because I'm assuming Murray guards him. I would think so. That's a really, really tough matchup for Poole. But I mean, he is going to try and do everything. So he certainly has 50-point upside and can certainly pay off that price tag. I think my favorite Warrior is Dante DiVincenzo. He's going to play a ton of minutes, and I just think that he's probably my favorite Golden State player. Looney might be my favorite guy on FanDuel at least, but on DK, Dante is my favorite.
As a general thought, I don't like the idea of Kevon Looney chalk. What does Kevon Looney do to break the slate? You know what I mean? Does he get to 10 points to get a double-double?
When I first looked at the slate today, I was like, no way, he's number 1 points per dollar. You know what I mean? Or number 2, behind LeVert. Now, obviously, he's going to take a back seat to Love, but it's we'll have to see. I'm concerned about 47% ownership with Looney on FanDuel, but I think I am going to roster him on FanDuel though.
By the way, if let's say Embiid is out, whoever's starting for Philadelphia, or if you want to take a stand, you're is Paul Reed or Harrell better than Kevon Looney in the old vacuum?
Well, straight up, they're probably not better, but what those guys get you will end up being more optimal lineup because
are they
you'll be able to
3K?
Go. Paul Reed's 3K.
Yeah. Is Harrell 3K as well? I haven't checked.
No, I don't think so. I think he's 4K.
Okay. I'm just trying to think.
Montrez is 45. Paul Reed is 3.
Okay, so if Harrell's starting, you want him or do you want Looney? What does the field do?
Well, if Montrez is starting, I want Paul Reed. That's what I said at the top of the show, Dean.
I know you said that, but I'm trying to. I'm telling you, people are going to be thinking this. Projections are going to say to play Harrell. You understand that, I think.
Yeah. I mean,
maybe both.
It depends on what they do with the minutes because Montrez doesn't play big minutes.
Well, we don't know. And then we kind of talk about that, the fragility of Philadelphia minutes, and a lot of it is who's playing well, and there's no way to project that. I don't know if Harrell's going to play well tonight, but we've seen it both ways where one guy starts and then Reed comes off the bench and he outplays Harrell and they just can't bring him back. You can't justify it. And he's just cemented to the bench. Talk about the Hawks. They are pretty healthy. We've seen Collins has gotten a lot of foul trouble of late, but theoretically, I think this is a good John Collins tournament game. Okongwu's price has worked its way up where we're not just playing Okongwu, or the projections are not telling us to play Okongwu, especially in Fanduel where he's 6'5", no longer this cash game center per se. Of course, you catch him on the right night, he's fine. And they're going to be thin on Golden State, whatever size they have. Their size is not a lot going on there. Draymond and Looney, and that's basically it. What do you have as far as Atlanta?
Okongwu is my favorite play. If you're kind of looking at your teams and you feel like you have too much Thomas Bryant or you want to pare some down a little bit, I would go to Okongwu as a price point pivot. He has shown a high range of outcomes, which is exactly what you want in a GPP setting. In terms of the other Young or Murray, I really don't have a lot of interest. I think those two cannibalize each other.
Same.
And it's not a good matchup. And so those are two guys that I really wouldn't mind Xing out of my player pool.
Alperen Sengun is going to play for Houston. Charlotte's lineup's out. Ball, Rozier, Hayward, Washington. Plum Dog, the millionaire. No surprise as far as their lineup. There's 2 10 o'clock games. We just talked about them. There's also a 10:30 game. My Miami Heat, very, very annoying Miami Heat, are at the Clippers. The battle of the two most annoying teams probably when it comes to the injury report. Kawhi, midday downgrade. He's ill. I don't know what to do with that. It would certainly boost up Paul George's potential upside. He looks fine as is. Batum has got an ankle. He's questionable. The Heat, Duncan Robinson's questionable. Caleb Martin's questionable. Gabe Vincent's questionable. If they all play, who cares? Adonis Haslam's questionable. He's forever questionable, I feel like. This game's a mess. Why is it even on the slate? You want to do some speculation here with the Clippers? Some if-then stuff?
I would assume Kawhi sits. And then it becomes kind of a question, do you want to play Paul George or do you want to play Anthony Edwards? And I think that I'd rather play Anthony Edwards.
I think it's too late. I don't think we get that news by 8 o'clock. Just guessing, but I hear what you're saying.
Right. So, but, obviously we have to wait for some Minnesota news. So, if everybody is in for Minnesota, then you can just leave it on George. And then if we lose some, Russell and Nas are game time decisions. But either way, it doesn't really matter. We'll have that news before Paul George's game. So if everybody's in for Minnesota, you can play Paul George, and if people are out for Minnesota, then you can just play Anthony Edwards.
I'm just afraid I'm out of salary. If I get the news that Kawhi is not playing, I'm afraid I can't even get to Paul George if I want to get to Paul George. I've already played. There's already a bunch of guys that I'm already rostering that have locked up salary, locked up my slots, and that's that. Unless I build around it and just play Paul George, who's fine, but would get elevated to a really strong play if Kawhi doesn't go. Maybe just make a Paul George lineup.
Yeah, I really would like to play Paul George at 8,600 on DK. The problem is that Anthony Edwards is 9,500, so that doesn't really quite work. It's easier to do on FanDuel where Anthony Edwards is 92 and George is 9,000. George is really cheap though if Kawhi's not out. If Kawhi is okay,
out. He's not a great play, but he's not a bad play right now. If Kawhi plays, you're not buried if you have Paul George and Kawhi's playing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got a puncher's chance if nothing else.
Yeah.
Powell's the guy that's getting the biggest projection in our if-then. If we see Kawhi out, he would be a slight DK value, not so much on FanDuel. They have a lot of dudes in the Clippers. They just sort of, I guess they're factoring in Batum in there too. That's if Kawhi is out. Powell would get to 26 DK points for what it's worth. Crunch Time crews should be coming in momentarily.
They are in the wings if we're ready to bring them in.
Awesome. Happy New Year to STL Cards. Happy New Year, Andy. Hopefully you enjoyed your vacation. And Kevin Roth. Happy New Year. What's up, Roth?
Happy New Year. How are you?
Doing well, man. No major complaints. It's still early. If you hit me up later, I'll probably have something to complain about. But as of right now, I'm good to go. How about yourself? Everybody else good?
I'm good. I have consumed enough Pacifico today to kill a small horse. So I am doing well. I am excited. Andy Means back in the building. What's up, Means?
Yeah, you got that Pacifico glow.
Yeah, I feel good, man. I'm feeling good.
Andy, you missed it. Last week, Roth told the people how to properly celebrate in Texas for New Year's, which did you partake in that, Roth, or is it worth getting into, or?
It's just science that if you fire a gun in Texas at New Year's, everyone, instead of like fireworks, they shoot guns. If you fire it straight up in the air, it's actually fully safe. If you fire it at an angle, that's what kills people. Just
Interesting.
Yeah. That's all.
I never heard of that, and I'm not even a bit surprised that is a thing in Texas. Not even a bit.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Cards, how do people celebrate New Year's in small town Illinois?
Trying to stay awake. That's pretty much the biggest battle. We actually went out of town as well for the weekend with the kids. Went up to a indoor water park up in Wisconsin and had a little weekend getaway. So everyone sort of managed to make it to 12, in and out of sleep there and watching the college football game. But so it was a nice little refreshing weekend for us too.
Yeah, the college football wild. When I saw the highlights, I didn't want to watch it, but apparently the Final Four got pretty frisky. Give us a call, Cards. Who's winning the whole thing? Who's going to win the whole deal?
I mean, Georgia's got too many weapons, I think, for TCU, but everyone said the same thing, that they were going to lose to Michigan. But that was more on Harbaugh, I think, with some questionable play calling down by the goal line. So, I mean, the spread's like 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if TCU covers that, but I don't think they're going to win the game. I'd like to see them win, though.
Fair enough. All right, Tim, you got anything else with the boys, or shall we step aside and get out of here and make some lineups?
Nope, thanks, Dean.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, I have a question for Andy. Is Donovan Mitchell a star?
How do you define star? I'll
However
answer your question with a question.
Interpret the question however you like.
Yeah, he's a star. He's in the freaking NBA.
Well, Tim says he's not.
I said he's a B. I said he's a B+ star.
He added a
That is a star.
All right. Good job,
Wait.
Dean.
Wait, everybody in the NBA is a star? Then if everybody's a star, then nobody's a star.
No,
That's why I asked for your definition.
What was the playoffs like a couple years ago where he just went off and he was dropping 40?
The bubble.
Against
In
Denver.
the bubble. Like, he was a star then, and we all thought he was going to be a star forever. But like, he kind of maybe fell a little from star level. I don't think he's quite there.
But look at the teams that he's played for. I mean, he's played for more, right? Cleveland and Utah, like, they're more team oriented and not the fastest tempo teams.
Right.
And like,
this is true.
if you put, and the markets as well, like if you put Donovan Mitchell on Boston or something like that without, like, if you swap teams with him and Tatum, like, would Donovan Mitchell be as good as Tatum is? Who knows? I mean, we can play if then, I guess, with that all night. But
The answer is no, but yeah.
But I think fair. It's fair, but I think Donovan Mitchell is better than the public perception of him.
I agree.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Look what you started, Tim. Well, myself and Tim are going to step aside and get out of here. I think I started that. My bad.
He started it.
All right. FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time is going to be starting now with Andy Means, SDL Cards, Kevin Roth. Go for it, Roth.
Yeah, but no, Dino's right. Like, if you put that guy on the Knicks, like, instead of Jalen Brunson, let's say, New York City is in love with him. The whole country is, Sports Center's in love with him, all that. But that is neither here nor there. What matters is that this is indeed Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel, and we are joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, the big fella, Andy Means, back in the house. I feel like a prolonged vacation. I like.
I mean, it's set up perfectly. It's like it's Christmas on one weekend, New Year's on the other weekend. What am I supposed to do?
I go to Cabo, I guess. Is that where you were at? You were on your private island or what?
Location, not to be announced. Actually, I was mostly at home, but Yeah, I was getting the the wife was giving the old pressure because she for sure had it off. She's like, "You're not going to work that week. You're not going to work that week."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, I mean, the break does sound nice." So
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you back, man. You were certainly missed. Welcome back into the fold. We also have the one, the only STL Cards with the GPP takes. Cards, you doing well, man?
Yeah, doing good. I've had a little 2-hour drive back home today from our little trip, so should be fun to get back in the saddle with a new year and ramp up for the football playoffs coming up here too.
Okay, yeah, very good.
And it's 2v1 with the condiment takes here on the show, so I feel I take some comfort in that as well.
Yeah. No, big facts. Andy Mead's condiment takes are poor and
so you have French fries. You don't dip them in ketchup. Seriously.
No.
I said I'll take ketchup, and cheese, but nothing else.
And if you have wings, you're not dipping them in ranch or blue cheese. Whatever. I don't like blue cheese, but you're not dipping them in ranch or blue cheese.
That's what the sauce is for.
That's
correct.
There's
sauce on the wings already.
And you got 2 sauces. 2 is better than 1. They taste delicious together.
It's simple math. All right, let's get into this slate, gentlemen. Means if you wouldn't mind, like maybe giving a breakdown as if someone on the show has not paid any attention
and drank a bunch of Pacificos
and just went to a friend's house at noon and started drinking Pacificos and needs help building some lineups.
I can do that. That would be easy. The long and short of it for this slate for me is I know what cheap plays I want to play. Not necessarily what expensive plays I want to play. Ooh, so that's good because you can kind of just load up on the stars you want. We got some recent news that matters a lot with Evan Mobley getting ruled out. We knew Darius Garland was most likely going to be ruled out, and he was as well. So we have cheap Cavs we like with LeVert and Kevin Love. We have as far as high-end spins, we have a great game to start out the night with the Hornets and the Lakers. So like LaMelo and LeBron, those are close to be my 2 favorite spin ups. The uncertainty on the slate lies with Embiid. That's the first game of the night or one of the first games of the night. And if he is out, we want to know who's starting. But it's going to be like whoever's starting, assuming they put one of Reed or Trez in there. Assuming it's one of those guys, we want to know who's starting there, and then it'd be like Harden. So a lot of things to drop still, but as far as the overall slate, it's I know what cheap stuff I want to do, and we got to kind of figure out the rest.
Okay, and we assume that we're going to get that news here within the next 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, you would think so. You never know with Doc, and you never know with Embiid. I feel like he's lately, the past year or two, in these situations, he's played more often than not, but it's completely up in the air. And you got to think they're going to be coming out for warm-up soon. The dude's either dressed up and going through layup lines, or he ain't. So we should be finding out any second. So yeah.
Okay.
Want me to run through FanDuel?
Yes, please do.
All right. So I have, believe it or not, I have 4 guys tagged on FanDuel, and they're all below the average cost of a roster spot. LeVert 6'2", Kevin Love 5'5". Kyle Anderson 5'3", and Kevon Looney 5'2". Excuse me. I think you start with those guys and just from there pretty much figure out where you want to spend up. So spend ups for me would be LaMelo Ball at point guard. He's 9'7". Another one would be Donovan Mitchell, point guard, shooting guard at 8'9". Those are 2 great ones. Then one higher than that would be Luka Doncic. I don't need to tell you guys why he's good at basketball.
I think he's got a pretty good ceiling from what I've heard.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's 12'4". So apparently the sites also know why he is good at basketball. LaMelo saves you almost 3K. So I do like him just a little bit more than Luka. Jordan Poole at 8'1". The Warriors without Steph, Wiggins, Kuminga, Wiseman, JaMychal. Plenty of guys there without tonight. So I think he's kind of more of a last piece sort of thing for me, but still like him plenty. Let's see here. Oh, Kyrie is right there as well, right below Mitchell. I'd rather play Mitchell for $100 more, but he's right there as well. Some mid-tier stuff that you might land on as a last piece. Terry Rozier at 6'9", Anthony Simons at 6'2". I think that is about it. for both guard spots, actually.
And
Levert,
does
I
Harden
already
launch
mentioned.
into the conversation with pending news?
Good question. He would launch into the conversation. I think he's going to launch into it a little more on DK because he's still 10-3 on FanDuel. Scoring system doesn't suit him as well on FanDuel with all the turnover negativity. So he would launch into it, but I think I would still prefer some other guys. Don't quote me on that, though. I'd want to see exactly where we land, but that's my initial thought on it. That was a good question. I should have touched on that. Small forward. A lot of the guys, or two of the guys that I talked about are tagged as core play, so we like those, Levert and Kyle Anderson. And then another guy I talked about at the top is an expensive guy, and that's LeBron. He's small forward, power forward. So, I don't really know if there's any need for me to go further here. Maybe TJ Warren, he's okay now, and then if Royce O'Neal gets ruled out, he's gonna see a nice bump. Tim Hardaway is another cheapish option. Anthony Edwards will look pretty good as a spend up if D'Angelo Russell's ruled out. He's questionable later on the night, and Naz Reid's questionable. I know the other guys talked about that on the show before us. Power forward, this is basically the same thing. There's not really anyone else I need to talk about besides the guys I already mentioned. Cheap guys, Slow-Mo, Love, Looney, expensive guy, LeBron James. That's about it. Other last piece options, Draymond, for reasons mentioned about the other Warriors being out. He's 6'2". Ben Simmons is okay as the last piece. Miles Turner's been absolutely balling the last 2 games. I think he scored 50 FanDuel points in 2 straight games. He's only 7,400. Nice last piece there as well. That's about it for power forward. And then center, a couple of these guys Looney and Love both have center eligibility, so you can use one of those guys there. Talked about Draymond. Thomas Bryant is there. Gets you some mid-tier exposure to that Lakers-Charlotte game. He's 6K. Probably not a spend-up night for me in cash games here. I really like the backcourt guys I mentioned, and I like LeBron a little more too. So probably not a Jokic night in cash, but can't blame anyone if that's where they land. You're probably not – I would want to use those core play pieces I talked about at power forward and center and small forward, so you're probably not going to have the room for Jokic, which is another reason I like all those guards. So, yeah, I think that's it. I'll throw it to you guys.
Okay, very good. Wow, this is a very fun slate. I didn't realize what I was missing out on. So I'm now trying to max enter 150 lineups, get them in throughout the course of the show. Cards, let's talk tournaments here. I guess if there is to be chalk, it's on the cheap side of things. What is your game plan going into it?
Yeah, there's a number of different ways you can go tonight because I don't necessarily know if all of the cheap chalk has a ceiling that is going to worry you too much in GPPs. The circumstances are great for Kevin Love, and he's going to play more tonight, certainly, like he did the other night. Mm-hmm. But his high in fantasy points all year, I think, on FanDuel is 38. So, and we've got him projected for, 33, 34, 35 tonight. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I just, he's 65% owned, and B, I don't know as if the ceiling of 50 plus is one that's got to worry you too much with Kevin Love.
And he got priced up as well. He's not cheap. He's not dirt cheap anymore. It's not a 3K.
Yeah, he's not 4K. Yeah. So again, and I'm not saying I don't like Kevin Love. I'm saying that the tournament appeal tonight is with guys like Love and Anderson and Looney. With those guys all being the chalk, I don't necessarily think. I think they're great cash game plays. I don't think they're GPP winning plays on a night like tonight. And you don't have to be so bold as to fade all of them. And if you're only making a handful of guys, maybe you pick one guy to take a stand against. And just based on ownership for me, I think Love would probably be that guy. I think Anderson has a little bit more value because you can use him at that small forward spot, or power forward doesn't necessarily have to take up that center position, which has a lot of different options tonight. So just based on positional eligibility, I think Anderson is probably the most appealing of the cheap chalk guys for me, along with Levert, because I think Levert maybe does have that ceiling. Looney and Love would probably be the two that I would choose to go underweight on if you're talking about those 4 guys. They all project well, and I'm not saying don't play them in cash games. I think in GPPs, though, you got to take some stands on some of these guys tonight. I don't think playing all 4 of the chalky cheap guys is optimal in tournaments. because I think the likelihood that they all hit a ceiling production game, particularly on a night that's deep at a position like center, Kevin Love could be great, but if you've got him at center and one of the top end centers goes for 90, well, that's probably going to be, the guy that ends up being on the GPP winning roster. So just think about that from a strategy perspective tonight. If you're looking to game stack, I think the Atlanta Golden State game is really, really interesting. Andy touched on the guys for Golden State that are missing, so their rotation is a little bit shorter, and we do have some ownership on those top end guys, but still not a ton on guys like DiVincenzo and Klay Thompson. If you wanted to go for a bench piece or something to complete a stack, you could certainly do that. And nobody's playing the Hawks. At the end of the last show, the guys talked about Murray and Young kind of cannibalizing each other from a production standpoint. I don't necessarily disagree with that, but if you get a shootout game where those two guys are like 3% owned, maybe you get lucky and get overtime, and that game has a 236 total. So I think from a GPP perspective, that Atlanta Golden State game late is really stackable, and it's also a 10 o'clock start. Potentially gives you some maneuver room if Kawhi gets ruled out or if there's some wonkiness. Both the Heat and the Clippers can be really wonky in terms of their injury news. And with that being the last game of the night, you stack up a late game. That gives you some opportunity to kind of navigate that news too if we get something beneficial there. So avoiding the cheap chalk and potentially going heavy on some of these later game options, I think are interesting strategies. I'll flip it tonight. I think I'll go position by position here when we go through DK, and in the interest of time, I can flip it back to Meansy to do cash there, and then I'll go position by position on DK for tournaments.
That sounds good. Important note here: Embiid is in. This is just coming in here. He is playing, so we lose a few plays there, but means that it feels like that's okay, right? That doesn't blow anything up.
That's the real big fella, by the way. That's the
big fella. When I say the big fella, Andy means, the actual big fella is in tonight. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you, Roth. It was going to be a little weird if he was out to see what the starting situation would have been there, but we don't have to deal with it. And yeah, I love the spin ups tonight. So it's going to be a very, very similar situation that I talked about on FanDuel for DK. I have 3 guys tagged there, all cheapies. All 4'6", 4'7", 4'8". Looney at center, Love at power forward. You can put him and Looney in your front court there. LeVert has shooting guard, small forward. Put him in one of those, and we're cooking here. So like we have 7,100 for our last 5 spots. I think if I'm looking at just guard again, LaMelo not as appealing on DK comparatively speaking. Like if I'm looking at LaMelo and LeBron. As like, which one do I like better on sites? I like LaMelo better on FanDuel, like LeBron better on DK, just because of their prices and whatnot.
You better say his damn name, Andy Means. There's a
Jalen Brunson played earlier.
No, there is a guard who against this team has dropped like 80 fantasy points, like in the last week, twice in a row, who is affordable now. Like, I mean, he's expensive, but he's gettable.
Who are you talking about?
Luka? You're damn right I'm talking about Luka.
I mean, I talked about him last time. I will say he's way more in play for me on DK just because I think obviously we always talk about scoring system stuff, but you have the cheap stuff if you want to get him. I mean, I love Luka. Yeah, he's there. You have Kyrie there again. You have Donovan Mitchell for 3,400 less on DK. So, like, again, the guards are where I want to spend tonight, and those are, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you not to play any of those guys. I think they're all on the table. Klay Thompson, I think he's on the table. 7-1, better price tag on DK, better scoring system for him on DK with 3-point bonus. I mean, he was in a ton of my early stuff this morning, early builds. It's a little different now with things moving around, but he's still like if you land there in your, put LeVert at small forward, put Klay at shooting guard, that's fine. So yeah, plenty of good options up top tonight. A Poole again. I didn't mention him yet, but can't go wrong with any of these guys, in my opinion. Let's go to small forward. You have LeVert there if you need it. Some other options would be LeBron to go just completely opposite and go to the top of the pricing spectrum, and he's a really good. I really like him on DK. You compare him to Luka, he's 2,000 cheaper. I believe he just put up 70 some fantasy points the other night on his birthday.
It was birthday narrative.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course is in there. That's the only reason he did it because it was his birthday. Great matchup tonight. Obviously, I mean this game is just an outrageous over under total on this game. So I really like him tonight. If I'm going to say one spin up on DK, it'd probably be him. I would put him there when you factor in everything, price and whatnot. So let's see any other. I don't think there's any other really true standout options at small forward. Let me bring in power forward here. See if there's anything because we have Love there. Obviously, LeBron has it. Draymond, he's 6K. He would be a more last piece kind of thing. Yeah, there's really nothing there. The Brooklyn guys, keep an eye on that actually. Like this might sneak under the radar a little bit. Like if Royce O'Neal gets ruled out, it's weird. They confirmed he's in the starting lineup, but they're still calling him questionable. So like, are you starting or are you out? Are you questionable? We have no idea. Keep an eye on that because like they've been playing some pretty condensed rotations lately. Like TJ Warren obviously has been back for 12 games or whatnot. He's only 4-3, been playing more minutes. I think he would be a really good value if Royce gets ruled out, and Ben Simmons is only 5'9". So keep an eye on that Royce O'Neal news. That could be somewhat sneaky. Yeah, that's really it for the forward spots, and then center. I have Looney tag there. Love has center eligibility, so you can go that route if you want. Again, probably not a Jokic night for me, although I could see a scenario. Obviously, you can put him in the util, put Looney at center, put Love at power forward. You don't have the money to get to Luka. You have plenty of money left over, so you want to upgrade from LeBron. Like, yeah, I can see Jokic being an option, but it's not someone I'm like looking to jam in here. So, and then one other name I'll mention in the mid tier at this position I mentioned on FanDuel is Miles Turner. Much better price tag on DK, 6'4". Obviously, the positional stuff is going to be a challenge because if you're playing Looney, you only have one spot for him. But I really like him tonight as well. So that's all I got.
Very good. Cards. Let's talk some GPPs over on DK.
Yeah, so the salary can be a little bit trickier to navigate, I think, but Luka at 12.4, same price as he is on FanDuel, in the grand scheme, maybe a little bit more gettable on DK, but still, it's just tough to get to a 12.4 price tag unless you've got some 3K-ish punts that you really like. I really don't see that. If we sort by ownership at point guard, the only chalk guy with a punt price tag is Corey Joseph, and I have a rule to never play Corey Joseph in GPPs, so I'm just not interested in that. Again, if Luka gets 100 again and breaks the slate, then kudos to him for his ridiculous run. But difficult to get him in there without forcing a lot of uncomfortable plays in. So that's why I still think kind of sticking in the mid-range with some of these plays, upper mid-range, makes some sense. Kyrie at 8,700 at only 12% ownership. I don't think that's too bad. I think Lillard might end up coming in a little bit lower owned than where we have him as well, with that being a later start. And we know that they don't have a problem playing him a pile of minutes, even in, he played, I think, 42 the other night. So Irving at 8.7, Lillard at 9.8. Those are probably your priority GPP spends. LaMelo Ball won't be as highly owned on DK with the salary being in the 5 figures. So those are guys that are maybe a little easier to get than Luka at that point guard spot. Of course, you have Poole as well if you're playing a little bit of chalk. If you add in the shooting guards, I do like Karis LeVert even in GPPs on DK. Just tough given the cap and that $4,800 price tag. Tough to avoid him. DiVincenzo, I mentioned kind of liking the Warriors as well. He's a little easier to get on DK. You've got the Warriors with Thompson on the other side. Again, fits in that DK lineup a little bit better. So the shooting guard / small forward spots, maybe a spot you can go with a few more of those value plays. Paul George, a good GPP option. Again, we don't know what they're going to do with Kawhi. That's going to keep that ownership down. I mean, the instances where Kawhi plays when he's questionable seem to be fairly few and far between over the last couple of years. So don't mind plugging in Paul George into some GPP lineups, and then it's not like you're dead even if Kawhi plays. So he's reasonable in GPPs as well. Don't mind guys like Hardaway and Josh Hart if you're looking to go down closer to 6K. And most of these guys that I just mentioned you can get at small forward as well. So the analysis is pretty similar there. Other potential values you could consider there, maybe somebody like Jalen McDaniels, if you want some cheaper exposure to a high total game. Again, you've got Kyle Anderson as well. Means he's talked about TJ Warren a couple times. So those are other ways to kind of get some cheaper plays in there in order to fit your top end studs. And power forward center is where I would look to maybe spend with a few of your GPP plays, because this is where you're going to get, again, the Kevin Love chalk. Miles Turner's pretty cheap. Looney's pretty cheap. Thomas Bryant maybe a little bit more in play as well. And those are the guys that a lot of people are going to be looking to go to. So if you go to a Warren or LeVert or some of these guys that are a little bit cheaper on the wings, maybe you can spend up at power forward or center. Maybe you can get to a Siakam, who's going to have pretty low ownership tonight, or Jokic, at a deep center position isn't going to have as much ownership as he otherwise would. Christian Wood's been playing better over the last month as they've started to give him more minutes. Still a little bit hit or miss at times, but the production has still been really solid. 4 straight games over 40. Revenge narrative tonight if you want to go after that as well. So I do like him in GPPs, even at 8K. I think he's certainly deserving of some tournament consideration tonight as well.
Very good. Okay, Cards, I have 2 GPP takes. You have to tell me why these are stupid and I shouldn't do them. One, Gobert at like 6,900. Like they need to get him involved. They're going to force feed him the ball. He's going to do things right.
I don't love playing him against Jokic, and I don't have the head-to-head numbers on me. And that would be a good thing. And Meansy, do you happen to know any of that off the top of your head, like with Gobert and Jokic in the past? I mean, obviously they've met a lot.
I mean, I don't really look at that, especially for like Gobert, because like I always say, they're not like feeding the ball in the post. He's just going to get stuff on cleanups, rebounds, putbacks, lobs, blocks. So like, it doesn't really matter who he's playing. I don't think it's just kind of stuff he falls into.
I mean, even if they're not packing the paint offensively, obviously Jokic can play wherever. So my worry is that maybe his rebounding rate would be a little less in those head-to-head matchups against Jokic. But again, that's more conjecture than the numbers. Like, he's fine at 6,900 at 1% ownership. I mean, I don't think that's crazy in GPPs.
One thing to keep an eye on is if Naz Reid gets rolled out too, that would increase his minute ceiling.
Second, Reggie Bullock takes 10 threes tonight. He gets 35 minutes. He takes 10 threes. You get a guy who's going to play all game. He's going to launch threes.
Houston allows like the most threes in the league, Roth.
Yes.
I know you knew that.
He's going to go.
There's no wings on that team available. Everybody's out.
So if he goes 3 for 10 from 3 and gets you like 10 points, then he's going to finish the night with 12.
That is probably what's going to happen.
He's going to hit 3 triples, and he's going to have 12 fantasy points because he's going to have
10 threes, and he's still going to have.
So I want to rewind 4 minutes to what we used to play last year in a game called "Am I Stupid?" And we should have played that with Roth right now with the Bullock take.
I don't think the Gobert play is stupid. Bullock, you're on your own for that one.
I'm locking him in, so deal with it. All right. All right, let's take some QQs, guys. We got 6.5 minutes left. I am jumping over to the RG Discord because it is the coolest spot in town. This is a good question here from NBA DFS. Is the Joseph play okay at point on FanDuel, 3,700, projected 24% ownership? I think you maybe mentioned him at the end there. No?
I mentioned that I never play him in tournaments, so that's
what it was.
If it's a cash game question, it's a valid question.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it. I know Killian Hayes is out, but I personally wouldn't do it. But I think there's much better value elsewhere.
Okay. Is Mark Williams viable for DK Cash? Part 2, who the hell is Mark Williams?
He's the center for Duke last year. He's been getting backup minutes for the Hornets now. I know he's really good per minute, but he's just started getting rotation minutes. I personally think that's pretty thin for cash games. I know if you, based on how good he is per minute, if you move his minutes 1 or 2, he's going to look way better because he's 3-4. I don't think you need to do that in cash games. I probably would not do it if it was me, but I understand why you would based on.
He would be a better tournament dart than somebody like Corey Joseph if you're trying to find.
Yeah, he had 40 DK points in 20 minutes the other night.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Very interesting. All right. Matt
probably a better tournament play than Reggie Bullock as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At that price tag. Yeah. I'm sticking with Bullock. Yeah. I'm an idiot. Matt Hack says in GPPs, would you play both Love and LeVert in the same lineup? Good question. Or would you create a rule to play only one? Or do you need to run it back if you're playing them both?
I mean, you can certainly run it back. I don't think it's the end of the world either way. I mean, it's not like they have the same role when they're on the court. But I think running it back in that game is interesting because it's not the greatest matchup on the other side for the Bulls, against Cleveland, but they certainly have concentrated production with some of their big guys. So, maybe you play one of the Bulls, top 3 guys to run it back.
Okay, very good. FanDuel Cash, this is a 3v3, means Luka, Scary Terry, Looney, or LaMelo, Mitchell, Bryant.
Ooh. Bryant. I mean, I do like Looney a lot, but when I hear those two together, I'd probably do the second one. So that's a good question.
Okay, great. Jay Sam says, hey, could Meansy go over what happens if Nurk sits? Is Eubanks viable? What should I kind of bump his minutes to?
That's a good question. We don't have a what if for him. Let me look real quick. I can kind of spitball this based on what they did last game, just because I know that was a close game. They are getting GP2 back tonight, which is gonna matter a little bit. He's probably on some sort of minutes limit. He's gonna take more away from the fringy guys as opposed to the main guys. Eubanks played almost 32 minutes that game. I'm guessing we would project him. My guess is his projection would be, I would say, like 28 to 30. Mm-hmm. Let me double check his price real quick. Let's see here. Come on. Just epically slow. Let me go a different route here. He is 3.5. So, yeah, he'd be a pretty good play if Nurk is out. I know this is going to be really challenging because that game is late. So we're probably a little too deep into the show to go through what a 2v2 type scenario would be, but he would be a pretty good play, yes.
Okay, very good. Let's lightning round this, guys. We got 3 minutes. FanDuel single entry, Lamb or PJ Tucker?
Don't love either, but I would go Lamb.
Primo says, who are your cash guards for DK?
LaMelo, Donovan Mitchell, Luka. Off the top of my head, those are my 3 favorite.
Very good. DK Cash at center, Allen or Turner?
Turner.
Thoughts on Reeves in FanDuel Cash as the last piece?
I don't think you do it now. He's not starting.
Yeah. All right. FanDuel GPP. Who do you like more, Dre or Bryant?
Given all the guys that are out and the fact that I like that game, I'd give the edge to Dre, but I don't think it's earth-shattering difference.
Fair. Roto Tua says DK Cash, Eason and Turner, or Bay and DiVincenzo.
Yeah. Probably the second one.
Arlo says, hey, DK Cash, if Reed ends up being out, although did I see that Reed was in? Oh, no, it was O'Neal.
They haven't got that yet. Yeah.
If Reed ends up being out for Minnesota, does slow-mo become a smash play?
If Reed is out of slow-mo, become a smash play. I don't think his will go up too much if Nas is out. If they're both out, probably he's going to look pretty good. Smash play, no.
Okay. Carolina guy says,
Royce got ruled out.
Okay.
Sorry. Did you hear me?
No. Yeah. Royce got ruled out, you said?
Yeah. We'll see who they start. It could be Harris or Warren. So let's see. Let's wait on that announcement first. We might not get it before we go off air, but that'll be pretty key. And then, for you premium peeps out there, keep an eye on projections because I'm guessing whoever's starting, hopefully it's Warren because I think he's going to look pretty decent if he's starting.
Okay. So you think this could be like a key cog in the wheel here?
Not going that far because the Cleveland guys look really good. So I don't think he's going to jump them by any stretch. Like LeVert and Love look really good, but I think he's going to be in the mix.
Okay, very good. Who is M. Wright? Dude is popping in projections. Carolina guy says.
Oh, he's the reserve for Dallas, I believe. McKinley, right? I believe.
Saying one of these wings on Dallas has to. There's no one there.
Tim Hardaway. Spence. Your boy Spence.
Yeah. But there's literally someone who costs 3.2 or less is going to get 37 minutes on Dallas.
I mean, I was going to say someone who costs that is going to maybe get like close to 30 DK points. I don't think you're wrong there. So
yeah,
no, this is all just pointing to Luka getting about 120 again. That's what's
true.
going to happen.
He literally do everything. Yeah, that's true. All right, hey, we hit the lock. I don't know. I was looking for some post-lock questions. If you got them, get them. If you don't, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, by the way. This is literally the greatest free content in the history of free content. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button there. And by the way, don't forget, sign up for a Fanduel Sportsbook. If you're in a legal sports betting state, their best bonus offer in the universe happening right now. New customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. Sounds good.
that sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah, so I mean, nothing wrong with that. Jalen Noel, the low-owned mid-price FanDuel piece if D'Lo is out. From Luch.
I love that. Oh, I love that dude. And I'm not talking about Luch, but I also love Luch.
I love Luch.
I love Jalen Noel too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good.
Yeah.
I definitely like that in tournaments.
Very good. What do you think about Kyrie tonight? Tyrone says. Guards?
I like him a good bit in tournaments. Sneaky, reasonable ownership there as well.
Steve-O says, this is a good question. Juan Toscano Anderson is popping. ... Why?
I don't know. He's not. Is he? Popping? Did he sort the wrong way on RG value?
I don't know. I mean,
he's not popping at all. He's got like a terrible projection.
He's definitely not popping.
He's not popping. Nothing there popping.
Popping
Dan,
bottles.
yeah. Dan says hi from London, which is honestly a good way. Hey, Dan, welcome. We appreciate you watching from London.
It's midnight over there.
I was gonna say it's quite late there. Yeah. All right. Hey, with that, gentlemen, we are going to get on out of here. So for Mr. Andy Means, the big guy, for STL Cards, and for everybody working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.